us supreme
We invented
racists, we did all this first.
We
So-
were trailblazers when it comes to racism.
Yeah,
we're moving on to the UK, and also fucking hate Elon Musk.
I'd ignore him.
Okay.
He's being weird.
Okay. Elon Musk does some fucked tweets. Like we obviously in our previous streams we made even a tier list of all the most fucked stuff he said, and he just keeps giving, and I don't know if it's funny or not. Like
Yeah.
he's just so incredibly dumb. Like why Operation Orwell? Like
Releasing prisoners to
Yeah.
make room for anti-immigration protesters. As we all know, 1984 was about people who were anti-immigration.
yeah,
That's
that's the main character. He was anti-immigration,
Yep.
but he was like reading the doublespeek
Yep.
where it said
Big Brother
diversity
wanted to
is
crack
strength.
down on him. Said, no, more multiculturalism.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, it's just stupid because none of these people read 1984. There's nothing to do with it, but also they just love mentioning Orwell. It's like the one like cultural touchstone that is it because they can show off that they've read a book?
I think
Like,
probably.
It's so weird. But yeah, anyway,
But
obviously
they haven't read it. It's just like the themes of it are so broad that everyone kind
Yeah.
of thinks they understand it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You don't have to read it. It's not very
I mean, it's a
good.
pretty shit book.
Yeah. But like that's all they're doing.
I was obsessed with it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was obsessed
You
with
read it as
Orwell.
a kid.
I read it in like year 9 or 10.
Yeah, I probably read it around then.
Yeah. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it's such a lazily written book. I'm sorry. It's like such a shit book in that like, remember one bit? He's like lying in bed and he like gets that sneaky tome, which is like there's the guy that they're meant to hate, the subversive guy who wants to take down society. Well,
and the tome is actually that explanation.
And then there's just one of the chapters is just a political like pamphlet.
That was my favorite chapter.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
That's because I was an idiot.
Yeah.
I just wanted someone to on the nose tell. I'm reading a work of fiction about like, someone coming to terms with their life under a super oppressive state. And then it's just like an entire chapter just like of someone's like Reddit post.
Yeah.
Being like, here are my 10 issues with the current regime.
Yep.
First, they're always lying. It's
what's with all the lying?
It's so bad.
This mycology overlord, 1984 and Animal Farm are only quoted by the worst people on both sides. I'm just so like there's plenty of reasons to be suspicious of. Well, he dobbed in all of his mates to fucking MI6.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like the ideas as well are pushed by the Americans all the time. And like there was an interesting, I learned that apparently Animal Farm was produced by, I think it was Radio Free Europe. There was some CIA front.
Yeah.
They produced a cartoon of Animal Farm, but they changed the ending where the animals overthrow them at the end, and there's like a revolution, and they go back to how things were before. So it's like,
it fits into like it's just a clever CIA kind of pitch to be like, sure, you're leftists, but like if you do your revolution, it's going to be corrupted.
Yeah.
Like it's inevitably going to fail. So it's best to just stick with the current system, which is global capital controlling everything, US hegemony. And it's like, I don't know if homage to Catalonia, and you can kind of understand it there. He's like, he's a leftist and he goes to Spain to fight in the Civil War, to fight the fascists. Really cool thing to do, and very impressive. And everything he's writing about is so exciting. He talks about how cool like the anarchists like cities are. Everyone's dressed the same, which is really good. He's just this beautiful revolution that's happening.
but isn't that what they are in 1984? Everyone's
That's what
dressed
he
the
hates.
same as well.
Yeah.
And it's bad there.
Yeah, it's nuts. That's so stupid. It's such a bad trope. Well, once upon a time, he loved that.
Yeah.
But like, he ends up getting into like trouble with the Stalinists, who are like the kind of biggest party in the Popular Front. And essentially the anarchists in their like little battalions, they had like completely democratic army battalions. So like all the soldiers would like vote on like who's leading and where they're going to go and all this stuff. And it's it's cool. It's cool as like a revolutionary thing, but it's like not the best way to fight a war against like a giant fascist army. In that being like, oh, we voted that this offensive shouldn't happen at this time. It should actually happen at this other time. And all the other groups have also voted a million different things.
Yeah.
And then the communists were just kind of like, look, like we understand we all love the revolution, but like first and foremost, we have to beat the fascists. And that means we have to have a normal army. And then when they try to kind of take control of the army. Obviously, there was like skirmishes between the anarchists and the Stalinists, and Orwell found himself on the anarchist side. And I understand his disillusionment.
Yeah.
Because he was living the revolution.
But then he turned his disillusionment into like
propaganda
and bashing
for the fascists,
the commies and stuff like that.
And also when he wrote when he wrote to MI6 kind of doxing all the kind of socialist party, communist party people in the UK, the kind of scribbles he'd have on the side were so funny. He'd be like, yeah, so he's a communist. He's also black and pretty sure he's gay. And it's like, this guy, definitely gay. It's just, he's so funny. Also, another allegation I think came out like 2 years ago was there's a scene in 1984 where the main character is out in a field and he has sex with his colleague.
The woman.
Yeah.
His love interest.
And the woman who was written about, which was George Orwell's love interest in his childhood, is claiming that he sexually assaulted her. And what he wrote about in the field was actually the traumatic incident that happened to her.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just kind of fucked across the board. And it's not surprising to have the dumbest people in the world think that he's on their side. Most principled anarchist. Anyway, so I don't know if you guys have been on right-wing Twitter. I think if you're on Twitter in general...
If you're on Twitter, it's right-wing.
It's right-wing. You're going to get all of Elon Musk's things, regardless of if you follow him or not. Okay, let's see. Something's happening in the UK, right? They want to get rid of the anti-immigration protesters, which are, true blue, patriotic English people, and they want to release all the brown murderers who are in prison.
Not true blue, they're all pink and red.
Oh, pink, yeah. And
it's
hairless.
Just so red.
Hairless like a Persian cat.
Yeah.
We will guarantee a prison cell. We will make sure that those people who need to be in prison will be in prison. Not necessarily in the area where they live. They may be 200-300 miles away from home, but we will guarantee people a prison cell.
The numbers are so tight there. How can you make that guarantee?
They are tight, and that's why we've initiated Operation Early Dawn.
Early
basically,
Dawn.
The easiest way to describe it is 1 in, 1 out. So as people get released, we can then pick up people from police cells and take them to court, and we will triage that 3 times a day. We will guarantee a prison cell. We will make sure that those people who need to be in prison will be in prison.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
That sounds like good policy.
Well, I mean, yeah. Especially if you got overcrowding in prisons.
But also, it's like...
You should release, like, minor drug offenders, let's say.
But it's not even that. Like, during COVID, they did all these... Well,
because it was unsafe.
Things.
Yeah.
And in America, a lot of the people they were releasing were people who were on life sentences, who were, like, in their 70s and stuff like that. They were so severely... they had so many health problems. Like, they released them. It's like, this person is no longer a harm to society in any way.
Yeah.
Keeping them in prison in the first place is just to prove a sick point.
Well, it's not only just proving a sick point, but also, like, a lot of the prison industry in America is privatized.
Yeah,
so keeping them in there means that you get kickbacks from the government.
It's like the people that they would be releasing would be old people and people who are non-violent offenders.
But also saying it's to make room
kids.
for anti-immigration protesters. I think, so we've got articles on it. I think at the end of the day, after all those protests, they arrested 300 people. And, like, there were some very violent
They're
protests.
very
they were
fat. That's why they need to release 5,000.
Exactly. These big British boys. People are fucking lynching people on the street. Like, I think they should go to jail.
Yeah.
Like, that is just a normal assault, and prisons are overcrowded. Anyway. Okay. After riot charges, Operation Early Dawn comes into effect after more than 300 people are remanded into custody over violence. They're not even talking about, like, the Elon Musk. I have to try the Telegraph. Never mind. We're not reading this article. But it's funny that, like, the kind of right-wing narrative is that now it's illegal to tweet.
Yeah.
Your rightful disgust at migrants coming into the country.
Yeah.
It's wrong to tweet that and you're going to be put in jail. And you're going to be put in jail and they're going to let murderers out. They're literally talking about people who did violence on the street, which is like, that right wingers are the law and order people.
Yeah.
Like, you want these people sent to jail. I think the joke is you don't want them sent to jail if they're beating up brown people.
Yeah.
Because then it's not violence.
They didn't do anything wrong. You're meant to react like this to them.
Yeah. Shortage of figgy bum pudding.
I agree. Man, didn't you said something really good earlier, Railway Terrorist. I think I commended you on what you said. And now you come here with shortage of figgy bum pudding?
No,
What
it's
is
cute.
this?
It's funny English food. They eat dumb shit.
Oh.
That's why the protest started. There wasn't enough figgy bum pudding.
See, I'm sorry.
No, Railway Terrace is on fire all the time. Yeah, okay. In case people don't know the context of the protests, well, someone asked. A bunch of girls were stabbed at a Taylor Swift dance event. Not like Taylor Swift involved, like just like you dance to Taylor Swift songs. And immediately, all the right wingers started mobilizing online, being like, "These Muslims are coming into our country and stabbing girls, and no one's doing anything about it." And then, like, obviously, the story pans out, and you're like, "It's not a Muslim." It was like a black kid, but he was born in the UK. He's an English kid.
Parents were from Rwanda.
Rwanda, yeah. But I mean, it doesn't stop these fascists, and they're just like, no more Muslims. They go around and start burning down mosques, like fucking trashing the city, burning down all these different like refugee centers and stuff, and just like literally just beating up like any brown person they see on the streets. So yeah, after like a week of that shit, 300 people were arrested, which sounds fairly proportionate of a police response.
Yeah,
like,
if a little bit lax.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the funny thing is that like this stuff comes out, and obviously all the kind of mainstream politicians are saying this is wrong. You know, they're like, oh, there's no place in the UK for this kind of hatred and stuff. And obviously the right wingers like Elon Musk and all his fucking buddies on Twitter are like, see, like the state is co-opted and controlled by these like migrants. Because they're condemning us, are they going to condemn the Muslim man who killed the girls?
Yeah,
who wasn't a Muslim? Like, but the kind of the sad irony of it all is that the mainstream politicians are the ones building this kind of resentment as well, right? So what was really funny is that I found this. Oh, sorry, did you want to?
No.
So after the riots, the UK government's like, we're going to deal with the fucking migrants. Yep. Let's crack down on migration. And it's just like, this is what they've been doing the whole time. Like, this is what these fucking like charred, bald-headed red men think that they're accessing this secret information the government doesn't want them to. No, the government's fucking feeding you this shit. The government hates migrants. Like, you know, it's just...
When the media is just so disgusting when they talk about this. Like, they just... The government makes it sound as though this is something that needs to be controlled and regulated, and in doing so they're just like acknowledging that there is some sort of threat that needs to be kept under control. And that's just opening the door to someone saying you're not dealing sufficiently with this threat, but you're giving away that there's some threat that needs to be regulated. It's just like, no, there isn't. Like,
it's such a marketable thing as well. The dog whistles are just so good because it is scary. It is scary to be invaded, you know. It's a cool narrative. It works really well for any news publication.
The really sick stuff is that like so much of the UK, their like immigration stuff now is there's people say that it is like coming directly from Australia.
Oh,
like
where
the same policies and the talking, all this stuff are coming directly from Australia, and also the boat. Yeah, exactly. The boat people talk. Rather than
it's
immigrants,
like there's a good kind of one. There's the legal one,
the
and then
queue jumpers and all this stuff, and then
kick them out to keep them safe.
The offshore processing as well, which apparently is the most important.
Didn't they want to do it in Africa?
No, that was they wanted to send immigrants to Rwanda. But like, and then like I think the EU in general is now doing all this offshore processing, and it's like us supreme racists, we did all this first. So,
we were trailblazers when it comes to racism.
Yeah, it's a bit like have you ever seen that movie Star Wars?
I heard about it.
You know when Anakin fights Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing of
higher ground.
No, the student becomes the master.
Yeah.
We were Little England. We were New South Wales.
Yeah.
Now we're pioneering the new ways of being racist.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're showing the old country, look what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. We harness the force of racism. What I found so infuriating here in Australia, because like we were the first. We were like a good 15 years before all these like copycats like fucking Trump and the UK now. We were doing this stuff, and then when Trump came around, there's this weird kind of respectability politics in Australia where they're just like, oh, he's such an embarrassment. Like, how can he talk like that? He's a racist. He's this. And he's just like, bro, we inspired him. Like, it's so strange. Like, oh, he did a Muslim ban. I'm like, we've been doing that shit forever.
I saw the worst fucking centrist response. So, like, the news now in Australia is about, a lot of it is about how many visas should be given to Palestinian people coming from Gaza.
Yeah.
The Libs are screaming about it and saying it's so bad. Labor's response is essentially to say, bringing this up is irresponsible. We're talking about people. So they've got actually no response to it, and they're also denying heaps of visas. But then Dutton, the opposition leader who was calling for this, he got called a racist. Then a Labor minister came out and said, well, look, I wouldn't say he's being racist. I would say he's being insensitive.
But also, like, it sounds like you're trying to lose
It's
an argument.
norms. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's being impolite.
But also, like, who gives a shit? If you're a racist,
Yeah.
then who gives a shit? That's not an accusation.
Yeah.
That's like, of course I'm being
He said
polite. I'm pissed off.
He's saying he wants to sue. He's considering defamation as well.
Against Alba or against
Zali
Zali
Steggall for being called a racist. So I hope he
That's
does.
so funny. Oh my God. We talked about that on a previous stream. It's just nuts. Like, the bare minimum you can do, if you're bankrolling the genocide of a people, the bare minimum, if anything, is just like, if you're bankrolling a country is trying to kick them out of the country, at least like shelter some of the people that are getting kicked out. You know, you can't just drive them all into the sea. Like,
no, but if 1% if 1% of those coming over here are Hamas, then that's too many people. That is 30 people coming over, and that's too many. Tell me how my Dutton impression is,
that was
everybody.
perfect. I don't think they know.
Yeah, there's some Aussies here.
The refugees are being put up in 5-star hotels. Yeah, we got shit like that too. The reality is they aren't allowed to live, work in the UK until their claim has been processed, but they can't start said process until they're physically here first. Yeah, it's just so stupid. It's the same thing that Musk fucking talks about in the US, where he's like, the Democrats are flooding this country with illegal immigrants because the illegal immigrants are going to come here and they'll know who got them in. The Democrats did, and so they'll vote for the Democrats. So they're replacing white voters with Mexican voters. And like the most obvious point is that these guys can't vote. They can't work. They can't do, like, all this shit's illegal. Like, what makes you think that these people are going to be voting? It's so fucking stupid. All these right-wing theories are so, the most annoying part about them is that they're on the face value, like, nonsense.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, where do you even start? Like, what you're saying is like hugely offensive, but it's also just like, come on, bro. Like, you're smarter than that. Like, this is dumb guy talk.
Yeah.
That's really good. If only 1% of the refugees support Hamas ideology, then they'll dilute Hamas support in Australia. Yeah, exactly. That he should be voting for that. He'd love that. Oh God. Okay. Oh, here's the thing, right? Again, another article we can't read, but we got headlines. That's fine. It's also funny that, like, it's kind of the trajectory of fascism in any country where you start off with this kind of like neoliberal state, or any kind of just like state that privatizes everything, cuts costs, fucks up people's lives, everything. Everyone's fucking scared and vulnerable, and obviously people are going to turn to fucking race politics to get some kind of solace, to be like, I'm losing out, I don't have stuff. The only explanation, or the most reasonable explanation, is that other people that shouldn't be here are coming in and taking this from me. When the explanation is just rich people in your country are constantly robbing you. And it's that same trajectory. And it's like, obviously the prisons are going to be overcrowded because everyone's desperate. Everyone's fucking getting, imprisoned. And yeah, the interpretation of that is going to be like, oh, the government's imprisoning more white people and getting rid of all the bad black people. And it's like, no, the heart of the issue is that costs are cut everywhere so people can make more profit.
Everything is falling apart always.
Yeah.
And has been for 40 fucking years.
And just watch this. In a month, they're going to be like, immigrants have a lower body temperature and they're making the country too cold. These people are famously from the Middle East, which is a very sunny region, so they haven't had to build up the body heat that a big, fat, bold man from the UK has.
They're cold-blooded, so like they need to go lie out in the sun and absorb all the heat.
Yeah.
That's how they stay warm.
And they're stealing our heat.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that fucking energy companies are poaching you and the government. Oh no, is poaching the right word? What was I saying? Gouging.
Yeah.
Price gouging. Energy companies are price gouging. The UK government's allowing it. It's completely fine. Like, that doesn't matter.
There was a great quote from the wonderful Boris Johnson, like a few years ago, when I think it was like when the Ukraine war started. There was like huge power outages, all these problems, and he was on radio, and someone called up and said, "I'm a senior citizen. I'm on the pension. I cannot afford heating, and I am freezing in my house. So what I do to stay warm is I catch the bus. I go and I sit on buses because they are heated, and it is cheaper to buy a bus ticket than it is to pay for heating my own house. How do you respond to this?" And Boris Johnson said, "Well, you can thank the Tory party for bringing down the prices for buses."
Fucking
That's how he
psychopath.
responded to someone not being able to afford
Psychopath.
heating, someone who is freezing in their house. It's just like unspeakable levels of evil.
Yeah. It's so nuts. Because that's Boris Johnson. So that was like, when was that? Like, at the earliest, like 2 years ago?
2 years ago or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I think it was one of the first winters when like Europe was facing those energy shortages.
And it'll keep happening. Yeah, the craziest part is that, like, you know, this has been going on for ages. You know, people have been facing shortages, and also energy's expensive because they're being price gouged by these giant private companies. But yeah, 16 people without hot water. Like, that's not even heating. You know, you can
How are
be
they gonna
freezing in
have
a house.
tea?
English people love tea.
They love tea.
This is like taking. Well, I don't even know. I don't think anyone is more tied to an object than an English person and a cup of tea. Yeah. I don't know what you do without hot water. I guess they have cold showers, but I feel like a lot of those guys on the streets didn't really shower.
In England.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
those
big bold
disgusting
men.
ghouls, those ogres. No, I don't think so either.
Ah.
I think it's part of their stench. It's like they like bad smelling
Yeah,
things.
yeah. It's like,
They're like, "Oh, you smell so nice. You smell like rotten fish. Delicious."
They're just complaining of like people smelling like curry.
Oh,
Yuck, fragrance, saffron,
fragrance. Oh, basmati.
It burns me throat. It does. It's their culture. No, look, we're not here to be racist. It is their culture. Jesus Christ. 25% of UK residents.
I love that you still try to read these when you have.
Well, I think it's nuts.
This is how bad cost of living is. We can't even afford Bloomberg.
It's just annoying. Every single thing is paywalled, and sometimes I'll pay for it beforehand, but I can't pay for shit on stream.
Yeah,
Because then I lose all my money because chat will see all my credentials. So we're going to have to do this. One day I'll get a Bloomberg subscription, but if I actually have to subscribe...
You could get it and do taxes on it.
Yeah, I guess so. It's more just the coordination of... Like, I subscribed to something the other week, last week for the last stream. I was like $50 a month for news for one of them.
That's very expensive news.
Is that The Economist? I think it might be The Economist.
I mean, they're all pretty expensive. It's like normally they're like $6 a week and stuff like that.
And what are they even covering?
Yeah.
That's $50 a month for us reading the news. $5.
Yeah.
$5 a month.
Anyway, you guys don't want to hear about our money problems, do you?
Yes, you do.